Welcome to Financial Freedom, where we're here together another Monday night. My guest, Senior Pastor of Rejoice and Praise, Pastor White. I am so excited to have you on tonight. Thank you very much for being my special guest.
I'm excited to be on.
Awesome. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to join us, Pastor, tonight. We have a packed agenda. And we just want to pick Pastor's brain and see where he is when it comes to financial freedom.
Be careful.
And we want to talk about something that he spoke to us about as a congregation last month, I believe it was. It was so powerful. It stuck with me. So I know I can pick his brain on this one because it just was one of those Tuesday nights where Dr. McCoy gave him the seat and he took charge, and it left a profound impact. I'll say it like that. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Come on in. Mr. Rich and Tia, we see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, while we give everybody a chance to join, I'll just go over a couple of things before we dive in. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. is Tuesday night teaching with Dr. McCoy. If you have not had the experience, it's one you won't forget. Oh, it is powerful. So join us back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Wednesday morning, 6:30 a.m. is midweek prayer. What a way to start your week with prayer. It always enriches my week as I go throughout the week. I look forward to that Wednesday. And then on Sunday at 10 a.m., our senior pastor is sitting in the master's chair um, with the congregation for Rejoice and Praise. All right. Welcome, Dr. McCoy. So glad to see you this evening. All right. So it's a couple minutes after, and I like to be respectful of everybody's time. So, Pastor, we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll lead us in prayer. I always turn it over to you, but I'll lead us tonight. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together for another Monday night. We thank you for your grace and mercy that covers us each and every day, Lord. And we're just so grateful that we can call you our Father. And thank you for the daily provisions that you provide for us. Lord, we thank you for every family that's joining us on this line this evening. Lord, we ask that you protect them and cover them in all of your ways. Lord, thank you for being a lamp to our feet and lighting our paths. We need you each and every day. Your protection going to and from our prospective jobs. And Lord, we just ask that we have more of you this evening and less of us. These and all other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you. So, Pastor, this is an honor to have you on here tonight as my guest. There are a few things I want to start with as we approach the holiday season. Um, Man, we're almost at Christmas. Can you believe it? Thanksgiving is in a couple weeks, and then we are at the Christmas time. And just as we talk about financial freedom, and what it means to us, the professionals are saying, we're seeing prices increase. If you've been to the grocery store and you looked at the chicken lately, the prices increase. that that poor chicken he's got a high price on him these days, and along with the gas stations and those prices. So I wanted to remind all of us to be prepared, as we move forward, as we see these prices increase, to adjust our budgets and our spending accordingly. Um, because we want to be prepared for any type of inflation or anything like that is happening. And what the experts are also saying is, Pastor, when we've talked about having an emergency fund, we said, start with you know, what you can. Is that $1,000? Is that $3,000? And recently, what I saw was 6 months, at least 6 months of your living expenses, to have that as a part of your emergency funds. And, it's not to scare anyone, but it's just to prepare us for, what if can happen. You want to elaborate on that a little bit? What are your thoughts on being prepared?
Here's my thoughts. Um, One thing about humans is we will find a way to get what we want, and oftentimes what we will do is we will sacrifice what we need for what we want. It's funny you make mention chicken. Um, we were we were looking for wings a few weeks ago, and one of the discount club membership um, stores here in the local area was selling wings for a little under $38.
Wow.
And I made a comment. Who would have thought that you would be paying that for the price of wings? So I think what we have to do a better job is a better job in what we have to do a better job at is prioritizing what really is a want versus what is a need. And I think, and I was thinking about this before we came on this evening. We hear financial freedom, and I guess what the question for each one of us is, what does financial freedom mean to us individually? Because for me, financial freedom may mean something totally different than you or from the next person. And once we develop our own functional definition of what financial freedom means to us, it gives us a better idea into how to attain what it is that we're trying to attain. Am I seeking financial freedom just so I can be freed from um, my debt circumstances, only to re-engage in more? Or am I seeking financial freedom so that I can have not just a better quality of life, but a more uh, meaningful standard of living? And what I mean by that is not just so I can have more accoutrements, but what can I do by becoming financially free? What can I do to help better position my community and beginning to attain financial freedom as well? So I guess the long answer to your very short question is simply what we have to do, especially in this season. Most of the debt circumstances that we find ourselves in for the year occurs between this month and next.
Yes.
And what is that magical day? December 25th. Most of our debt that we incur, we incur more debt between Thanksgiving and Christmas Day than we probably do any other time of the year because we're out shopping for gifts for everyone. I think we've really forgotten, we've really lost sight of it. So I think that's what we have to do. We have to recondition ourselves into thinking in terms of how do we envision being financially free, or do we even want to really be financially free?
That's a very good point. Do we really want to? Because if it is just to gain more things, are you truly free? When you say that, because you really aren't, because you just engaged yourself into something else. You just did a shift, right? You shifted it from one thing to another thing. I will talk about myself, and I like to use myself a lot because when you know better, you do better, or you should do better, right? So as I am looking at my basement, I could be financially free if I get rid of some of the things I have down there. And my husband probably will laugh because my closet rod broke. And he said it's too much on it. And, and I hate to say it's not the first time that it broke. So I had to change some things, right? And that just tells me that what have I invested in? Things. And so I need to change that habit, that behavior that I have, of the things, and change the mindset, because that is not what financial freedom is to me. To have things. So as you know better, you do better, and you shift, and you talk about investing in our community. And rap has given me a great perspective for that, and I'll tell you why. Is because as I look and I try to set up engagements for financial freedom, that's the one thing that's at the forefront, Pastor. Is what does the community need? What information does the community need? And I'm always seeking feedback about, what do you all want to know about? Not just what I want to bring to you, but what will bless you to help you on your journey to financial freedom, whatever that definition is. And so, when you talk about helping the community, this is one of those areas that I feel can be a beacon in the community, because we can set the standard, for those in the community and what they need, and bringing them to listen. With some of the information that we're learning and we're gathering, um, to help us sharing that information. I don't always say hit the share button, but it's a great opportunity to share that. If we can reach, each one of us could reach one person to make a shift or a change, then I think financial freedom has really made progress, um, for what we started out to do. We wanted this to help. And do you feel like it's too late for some of us? I'm getting a little bit older. Is it too late for me, Pastor?
Oh, you know my answer to that. I don't think it's ever too late for any of us as long as we still have breath in our body. I don't think you can ever be too old or even too young
Right.
to seek after financial freedom. And one of the things, again, another thing I was thinking about, a lot of us may equate financial freedom with wealth. Wealth is good, um, but I think for the average person who have a desire to be wealthy or rich, whatever term you want to put on it, you ask them, well, what's your blueprint?
Hmm.
For many of us, the blueprint for us to attaining wealth is, you know, Monday, Tuesday, what other nights? Wednesday, just about any night of the week, they go play the Powerball, the Mega Millions, and that's for a lot of us, that's our perceived avenue for attaining wealth. But we're pregnant with possibilities. And
Hmm.
one of the things I think that this pandemic has taught us, it has really allowed some of us to do, is to tap into our creative sides. There have been some businesses birthed. There have been some, a wealth of things that we have begin avenues that we begin to pursue, and having multiple streams of income. And so I think, for those of us who are more seasoned, more mature, I think what we have to also do is um, stop looking at that, um, looking at ourselves as being past the point to be at a certain point or a certain level in life. Because again, I think for all of us, we should have that desire, that drive,
Hmm.
if not even doing it for ourselves, to be able to pass it down through other generations,
Hmm.
and be able to inspire them um, to be in pursuit of whatever financial freedom is for them as well.
A- Absolutely. Um, and you're right. The pandemic. I always say the pandemic um, was a good thing for me because it helped me to tap into some things that I don't know that I would have done otherwise. I think, I always say God was trying to get our attention. We wouldn't have slowed down if He didn't slow us down to get our attention to really take a look, not only us individually, but at the family unit. We spent more time during the pandemic as a family than we would have otherwise because everybody has such a busy schedule, or they just don't make the time to do it. And when you had to stop and you're there together, it was a good opportunity to do some assessments on where we are, what we could do, and what the possibilities are. So I want to bring in a question real quick or a comment. Some people are resigned to the belief that debt is a part of living. And I've heard that one. And the other is, how do we help self and others be more content with what we have? And both of those are really powerful messages. I think that first one, resigned to the belief that debt is a part of living. What are your thoughts on that one?
My thought. Well, let me parse it both together.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I think there's a fine line. I think that we have to have a healthy balance. We have to have in our lives when it comes to contentment. I, for one, I've never been one who has been content where I'm at in life. Um, that's just the drive in me. The drive in me has always been, no, despite how comfortable I may be, or how good I think I am, I know better is still out there. It's like that saying, "Good is the enemy of great." So I think there has to be a balance, and what I mean by that is, don't get me wrong, it's not. I can be content.
Mhm.
Um, I can be just as content with a couple of dollars in the bank account as I am with a couple of $1,000 in the bank account. Contentment for me is not predicate upon what I have, but at the same time, despite of what I have, I think we have to have that constant drive for even more. And here's the biblical example: Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus with his inner circle, they're up there, and they experienced the transfiguration. The impetuous Peter, being who he is, told him, let's just stay up here. He got caught up in the moment. I don't want to leave it. And many of us, we get, if we're fortunate enough, we can, some of us attain a level in life where you just, man, this is it. I got the house with the picket fence, 2-car garage with 2 cars in it. Can't get no better than this. But what did Jesus say? No, don't ever settle. Let's not get so comfortable where we settle with the state where we are, because again, that whole series that we're in now, greater, you know,
Greater.
there's always greater for us. God tells us He can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever ask, hope, or think, through the prior powers in Christ Jesus. So for me, that tells me that there's nothing that my mind can concoct that I can't accomplish. Matter of fact, whatever my mind can concoct, He's already told me He can even do more than He can do greater than that.
Absolutely.
There's no limit to His possibilities. So if there's no limit to His possibilities, and if I'm tapped into Him, then there's no limit to our possibilities.
That's
So, what I think what we have to do is, We have to do a better job at teaching self value, because when we have self value, we don't measure ourselves based upon what we do or do not have. So I think, contentment in the context of overspending. That's what I'm talking about. Self value. If I have to, if I measure my contentment based on what I have, then guess what? I'm measuring with the wrong measuring instrument to start off with. So what we have to do is teach more self worth,
Mhm.
because when we know our self worth, I mean, I can rock Walmart just as hard as I can good designer. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I think that's what it boils down to.
And having that confidence. And that's the one thing that, as we talk about our family and our children, instilling that confidence in them. You can do whatever you set your mind to do, excuse me. And I used to have this saying, if you all are in the same class and you start out together, you have equal opportunity. um, because you're right there in the same lesson. So as long as you have the same opportunity, there's no reason why you cannot succeed as well. And kids used to look at me, oh, mom, that's not necessarily true. Sure, you were right there. It's what you put into it as well, and what you get out and what you expect from it. So I'm going to segue over to dream big. And so I did this exercise where I text everybody and I said, if you were able to dream, dream big, what are three things that you would um what would you do? What would you do? What would you have? And so they sent it back and I said, okay, so I was trying to follow you, Pastor. I don't know if I was doing a good job or not, but I said, okay, so dream even bigger than that. And they said, ooh, we need to think about that. Because they did exactly as you said. When asked, they gave me responses of things that they could obtain, you know, not looking at the what seems to be the impossible, but we know all things are possible with God. But they limited themselves, and I said, you don't want to limit God. So dream big. What is it you want to do? And I think we shared the same thing with um, having that house on the islands, or out of the United States somewhere. And one of them was a nonprofit, owning a nonprofit. So what kind of nonprofit? So to start them thinking about this and thinking about it more, and um, how to ask for those things that you are seeking for. And the ones that didn't respond, so I said, so you don't dream, right? They were happy with me. But it has such a big impact on me in thinking about it, because I did exactly as you said. That Tuesday night, I I was limiting as to what I thought I could achieve versus truly dreaming big. And I wanted you to share that a little bit more of that with us this evening, and how we look at things that from that perspective.
I'm like you in that I like using um, I like using myself as an example, not because of anything that I've done, but just um, here's where I'm going. Here's what I mean by that. So yeah, I think we've shared. Kim and I may have shared this story when back way back when we were doing um the 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 couples thing, when she and I first got married. How I mean, we were. Um, I mean, you look up Poe. You would have seen our picture. And notice I said Poe, P-O. We can afford the O and the R. But even then, I think despite the circumstances we were in, despite our circumstances, I could still visualize uh, better the dream. Um, and so here's my point. I think what we have to do, we get so caught up in the here and the now that we lose sight of where we want to be. And that's why when you ask a lot of people, what do you see yourself in life? You get that blank stare because it's like never really gave thought to it. Why? Because we're in the struggle. We're in the struggle. We're in the struggle with the day. So I think what we have to do a better job of is, it's not a dream for me to say. Um, so um, it would not be a dream for um, someone to say, um, one of my dreams is to own a Tesla. That's the hot vehicle. One of my dreams is to own a Tesla. When truth be told, the only thing that's preventing you from owning it is you just going to the lot and putting your name on the wait list to get it. If you see what I'm saying? If you
Yep.
have the means whereby to get it. But it's, for the person that has the ability to, but just haven't saying that that's a dream, but the only reason the dream ain't come true is because the wait list is so long. That ain't a dream. That's just, you know, that's a desire. I
Mhm.
desire to have it, but it ain't available. It's a dream for me to have it when, you know, there's no means whereby there's no measurable means where I can attain it now, but I still have a dream to one day have it.
Yeah.
What makes it a dream is there's nowhere possible for me to do it now, but because I have a dream to do it, it gives me the drive to be able to attain the means whereby I can. Makes sense.
It
So
is.
I think again, where is it? Where can we have to pinpoint? Where is it in life that we stop dreaming? You ask any child now, what do you dream to be when you grow up? And they'll tell you, whatever, doctor, lawyer, athlete, or
Mhm.
whatever it is. But at what point in life do we stop dreaming? And so I think what we have to be able, again, what we have to be able to do. Here's my new favorite term. I'm borrowing this term from my better half because I hear her talking about this all the time. So I'm adapting it, and that's going to be my argument going forth whenever I want to go somewhere or do something. Self care. She's always talking about self care, um, and so I think what we have to do, not only in dreaming, but we also have to begin to institute practices for self care,
Right.
to be able to rejuvenate ourselves. We give so much to so many things. We're pulled from in so many different directions. We really don't have time to sit down and to write out that vision, make it plain.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing for what we have to do is we have to learn how to make more time for ourselves
Mhm.
to really plot out the course for which for which we envision our lives, and not only just for us, but aligning it with God's will for us.
Absolutely. Um, I used to have that mindset of, those resolutions, but it's a continuous thing to dream, right? So it's not a one point in time that I've got to get it in by December 31st. So my December 31st is December 31st, it's March 1st, it's all throughout the year. And I continue to calibrate that, right? To challenge myself to do more. So that vision board. And it didn't start out that way. It started out this beautiful woman I met in a class brought me a book the next day because she asked me what were my goals, and I will never forget. I think I gave her my goals for work, and she said, "No, what are your goals?" She said, "Because there should be some professional goals, but there should be some personal goals." And so she helped me to understand where she was. She moved here from South Carolina, and she lived with an uncle. And so her goal was to get her own place and then furniture and things like that. And I know those are things, but she said that was a huge accomplishment for me based on where I came from. And that really stuck with me. So you will never find me without that book because I believe in writing it down. Because one, I'm a visual person, and then two, I like being able to see it. And now also my spiritual walk is included in that, in those goals and those things that I want to accomplish, because I think that's equally important. And sowing seeds. So that's my thing. Where am I sowing seeds? Where am I sowing seeds and leaving breadcrumbs? Because I don't want to have something that I can't share, right? So talk about that for you, Pastor. Like, how are you leaving breadcrumbs?
I share, I think, with everyone, with you all, several months ago that I kind of look um, at this stage in my life. I kind of try to put my life in um, what part of my life am I in, and I think I am in the latter part of the third quarter of my life. I spent the first half, trying to get a feel for the game, filling it out, seeing what plays work, what plays don't. Okay, this play here didn't work very well, so I need to take it out the playbook. This one here, it was okay, but here's what I need to fine tweak in it in order to run it again and maybe this time have better success. This play right here was wonderful. I wish I had ran it more often in the earlier stages of life. And so for me, being in the latter in the latter part of the third quarter, it's like, okay, I'm realizing that in the fourth quarter, I don't have the stamina that I had in the first half of the game. So what I got to do is identify someone who I don't mind passing the ball off to. That's what makes Tom Brady such. Trust me, I'm not a Tom Brady fan, and I may not have a lot of sports fans that tuning in right now. But this is I'm a diehard sports fan, so I try to use that. Those my way of using parables of
Okay.
sports. As much as I do not like Tom Brady, I respect his game because the older he's gotten, the more he's realized that, hey, I have to use the capital that I built up in the early stages to be able to pass the ball on off to those individuals who are more capable with it in their hand. He's still the quarterback. He's still, running the plays, controlling the plays. But what he's doing is identifying individuals to help get the ball across the goal line.
Right.
So that's where I guess I'm kind of at in at this point in life, and looking to see who can I pour out what little bit I have learned into. And one of the things I find myself doing is talking to a lot of younger um, the younger professionals, telling them Don't make the same mistake that I did by putting all of your eggs in one basket so early on in your career. We're trained, my generation was trained growing up. You want to get a good job and put in 30, 40 years in that job, retire, and have a nice retirement egg. For me, and what I'm trying to pass on to the generation behind me is, it's okay to have that good job, but have multiple streams. Don't let that be the only thing that you rely on. And I've realized it took me, again, in the second half of my life, to realize, I've always known it all along, but to really hone into it, whatever position we find ourselves in life, that's just God's way of using that to, that's his tool and mechanism for blessing us. But just because, I tell people on my job and they think I'm crazy. God uses that job to provide, the blessings, the lifestyle, or whatever that he chooses me to have. But don't get it twisted. I can walk away tomorrow, and I trust him enough that just as he's used that to bless me, he will use another avenue to bless me. Now that's crazy faith, but I mean, again, we have to talk. We have to talk offline, because I can really tell you some stuff. Just how he's allowed me to trust him when he can't be traced, and that ain't just saying it. That's living it. And so what I would share with people is, if you really want to see just how awesome God is, allow yourself to learn his voice. And when you do, when you hear him, be attentive enough to, again, if it sounds crazy, you're like, you're having doubts, what it has taught me, oftentimes God's voice is in it. And so here's what I'm saying, just so y'all don't think that I've totally lost my mind. Here's what I mean by that. I get excited. Um, our daughter Vakia has a friend who, her best friend from high school. She's um, went to school in Atlanta. All of the family is in Atlanta. She was living in Atlanta, and she up and decided last month she was going to move to California, Los Angeles. So she came down to visit Vakia a couple of weeks ago, before she left, before she took the journey out to Los Angeles. So we were sitting here in the house and we're talking, and Kim asked her, "What made you want to move to Los Angeles?" She said, "I went there." I may have been I asked her. She said, "I went there in my 10th grade year for spring break, and I just fell in love with it, and said, one day I want to live here." And she said, she's gotten heavily involved in church. She said God had a talk with the Lord, and told him, "Lord, this is the move I'm ready to make, and if you're with me in this, you got to help me." And so she says she interviewed for a job. She got the job. She applied for graduate school at USC. She got accepted into USC, and she's like, "Okay, God, I see you." And so she was telling us. So Kim was, asking her questions, telling us about her apartment, and we're talking. And she said she ain't even been. She's rented the apartment sight unseen. Has not been back to Los Angeles since that 10th grade spring break trip. And she drove out a few weeks ago, her and her mom, to live. Apartment unseen. And so, we're talking, and I'm sitting there, me, I'm stoic. But the inside of me was like, I was going crazy. Because that's the kind of faith that just makes me get me all giddy inside. Because I'm like, that right there, that's faith. That's faith. That's substance of something that's not seen.
Yes.
That right there. And so before she left, we had prayer with her, and she was overcome with emotion, and I was like, you know what? Your blessing is whatever it is that you've been expecting, trusting him to do, it's coming because you shown him that
Obedience.
you can take him at his word.
Absolutely.
You ain't had no Gideon spirit. Lord, if it's you, I want you to put dew on this fleece in the morning, and I want the ground around it to be dry. And God did it. God, no, God, I still ain't convinced. If it's you, Lord, tomorrow I want you to have the ground wet, and I want the fleece dry. And God sometimes, God, he has a sense of humor. He'll indulge us, and he did it. And Gideon still kept doubting him, kept wondering. And so for me, what I tell anyone is what whatever you can concoct. But here's the key: you got to hear him. You got to hear that confirmation. You can't just, okay, God, I'm gonna do it, and then you go jumping out there. You got to hear him. You got to be like Peter. Peter didn't get out that boat until he said, Master, if it's you, bid me come. He ain't say, well, I think that's Jesus. Let me walk. Because if he walking, he gonna keep me. And then we get out there and we see, we want to blame God. See, God, I tried you and you failed me. He said, no, you gotta be tested and proven first. So, but anyway, you asked me a question. I'm getting off on a
No, that was wonderful. You almost told my story about how I got to Atlanta. Almost very similar to that young lady, and just believing. No job. I said it will come. It will happen. And just trusting and believing, right? Because you don't have to have all the answers.
but
Some of
that's what
us
we
think
want.
we have to have the answers. We just have to have that trust and be able to follow that voice, as you said, discern the voice. Um, so one of the questions, Pastor, is how do we get people to start dreaming?
I think what we have to do is, again, going back to as a child, is we have to remind people, um, ourselves. Well, I'm not going to say people because we're all guilty of it to an extent. We have to remind ourselves of just the possibilities that we are pregnant with. I mean, think about today's the time that we live in now. I mean, we're living in a day and age where we're not only witnessing NASA send people to outer space, we're seeing private companies do the same thing. We're living in a day and age where just anything you can think of, we have it. I was looking at news the other day, and they've already developing a hover vehicle. And so, the mind. One of the things that we've lost sight of. We're gonna have science class. The strongest muscle in the human body is the brain. We fail to realize it. Our brain is a muscle. It's the strongest muscle in our body. We gotta exercise it more. We gotta stop allowing it to deteriorate with some of the stuff that we put in it. I'm guilty of it. I've shared with y'all. I love reality TV. Reality TV reminds me my life ain't as bad as I thought it is. And that no matter how, I mean, you can still, money don't change. Y'all know I like listening to Steve Harvey in the morning. One of Steve Harvey's, not Steve Harvey, it's Shannon Sharp. Another one of my, I have to listen to Shannon Sharp every day on Undisputed, and he's always saying that money only makes you more of what you really were. He says, so if you were a bad person, money is just gonna make you a bigger bad person. We have to lose that notion to thinking that money is the cure all. Truth be told, If we're really in this, if my motive for becoming financially free is for me to have more money and I'm reckless with it to start with, then guess what I'm going to do when I get more of it? I'm just going to be even more reckless. It's just going to highlight what I am. And so I think what we have to do is encourage one another to start tapping back into our creativity. We're creative people.
Right.
We're
We
creative
definitely are.
people. I mean, only us can take a hog and you can ain't nothing left over when we get done with it. I mean, only us can take a peanut
Yes.
and make so many things out of it. Only us can take some turnips or some greens, stuff that was really wild vegetation to start out with, and see in it the possibilities of what it could become. So we have to get back to that, to our just be and encouraging one another.
Right. Absolutely. We are brilliant people. And a lot of the things we I don't want to use the word stumble upon, but I'm at a loss for words right now. So I'll just say stumble upon. But look at the hair business. $1 billion business. Who does all the styles? Look at what we've been able to do. We're making wigs, you know, and for people that have had hair loss, we can put a full set of hair, a head of hair on your head to look just as if it was grown from your roots. You know, products and things like that. We just have to see ourselves in the driver's seat. We have to look at the front through the front windshield and stop looking at the rearview mirror and see the possibilities in front of us. See the big possibilities and not the small things that's behind us. You know, you hear these things just because one person did it doesn't mean you can't do it. They don't have your spin on it, you know? But we have to see ourselves, as I say, in the driver's seat.
Not only that, but we have to learn how to be champions for one another.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I would. We have to learn. I have to learn how to cheer just as hard when I see you succeeding as I do when I succeed.
Yes.
Um, y- I'm a wannabe historian. I love history, and one of the things that I used to always be guilty of saying is, and I've even said this recently. Um, y'all know me. I ain't scared to say what I think out loud. I ain't scared to say out loud what I think. Um, so I was joking. Well, I wasn't joking. I was serious. I was telling Kim, it's funny you're talking about hair business. I was telling Kim a couple of weeks ago. I was like, you know what? We need to open up a hair store in this particular area. I said, and hire um, a Korean individual to manage it, to run and manage it for us. She was like, why? I said, but because if we open it up, business we won't get nearly as much business. But if I put that individual behind the counter, you know, we'll go flocking to him. Have you ever noticed that?
Mhm.
It's true. I know it's true here in Augusta. I know it's true there in Atlanta because I've been in a couple of stores up there. So I
Absolutely.
say that to say, told you I ain't scared of y'all. I say that to say, why can't I? Why do I have a problem um, going to Anita's tax service to give her my business, but I go to Becky's and pay her double? what Anita's charging me. And then I try to use the excuse, I don't want Anita all up in my business. She might go telling Bridget them about my finances and all of this. You think Becky ain't gonna do the same thing?
Right.
So we gotta learn how to champion one another,
Absolutely.
applaud one another's success, and remind, because this is my thing. And I'll tell folks in a heartbeat, what God has for me is for me. I
Right.
mean, I don't worry. I can't walk around worried if I share this idea with someone, they might steal it. How does that sound? It ain't mine to start with.
Right.
God gave it to me. So and we walk around and we're quick to say what God has for me is for me. Well, if that's true, I shouldn't care. Because what God has for me is for me. I mean, why can't He bless you and me in the same way? We've said He's able to do it.
Right.
So I think that's what we have to do a better job at as well. Learn how to cheer one another on. But going back to the history, I think that goes back to, you know, that's deep seated roots that goes all the way back to the antebellum period when they put some of us in the house and kept some of us outside, and they used those of us that was in the house to keep keeps keep an eye on those of us out there, and then that caused that division and that divisiveness. Well, guess what? That's over with. Kind of like the Hatfields and McCoys,
Mhm.
been going on for so long. What is it going to take for us to stop it? But hey, we're talking financial freedom and not
We
talking.
talking good stuff, Pastor. It is really good because it will allow us to have financial freedom. Because if we uplift and support each other, that's the freedom that we need, right? So I find myself, I'm kind of like you. Someone comes in and has a conversation with me. They're like, I don't think I came for this, but I see the idea. I see you right at the edge. So I want to give you a push. You need to jump in the pool. You cannot stay on the edge. Don't do like me with the high diving board and know you can't swim and jump in, right? So I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you the floater to help you, but I get so excited when I see people right there to the edge of that idea. I want to help you. Let me help you. Let me tell you some things that I see that you may not see with your vision, you know. And what did that cost me? Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. It wasn't my idea. It's still yours. And so you talked about Anita. We will sit down and we will have an idea, and we're almost at the edge, right? And she'll tell you we will go on a vacation, and we're writing on napkins. So she has an idea. She's like, but I can't figure out. I've got this floor plan, but I can't figure out how we're gonna do bathrooms. So, well, where's your piece of paper? We're gonna draw this up. We draw it up. She said, that's it. She goes back and she implements it. So I walk into the space and I said, is this it? She said, this is it. You, you know, so she was almost there. She does the same thing for me. And so I think it's selfish of me to have the information and not share it, right? I am richer because I shared that information, and I'm just as proud of her and her accomplishments as if it was me myself. In fact, for me, that's my only shy part. I toot my own horn is a struggle for me. I don't like the attention. I'm working on that though. I'm praying about it and I'm working on it. But she was just telling me the other week, she said, you just hate to. I said, no, I don't like that kind of attention. But if I can help somebody else, that's my joy. That's what I get a joy out of. And the dreams that I see people, they're right there on the edge, or even they haven't even started, but they're kind of thinking about it. So how do we get them to dream, and encouraging them to dream? Our children shouldn't be the only ones that dream. about what they want to do, who they want to be. I'm telling you, you guys, I'll be 80, 90 years old, and I'll still be talking about, the dreams I have, the things I want to have, even if I'm giving them to someone else to give birth to, you know, I'm okay with that.
Here's what I see, and this I'm directing this really statement to um, those. Um, so right now, here's what I see happening in our community. There is so much growth, rapid growth here in the Richmond and Columbia County areas. But here's what always tell people: our scarcest resource in today's day and age is land.
Mhm.
Can't make more of it
No.
unless you're in Dubai. They'll throw sand in the ocean in a heartbeat and make an island. Um, but you can't make more of it. And so I look at the growth, the rate of growth here in this area, and what I've been telling people for the past 5 years. Eventually, the growth has got to continue. It's not going to stop. It's going to continue.
Right.
What happens? It's going to continue to grow outward. And I see Jefferson County missing a great opportunity. Got plenty of undeveloped land. You're right in the backyard of where of this growth is. Why aren't you positioning yourselves? Why? Yeah. My question for those leaders would be, why aren't you positioning yourselves to take advantage of this potential growth that's going to be coming? That's already starting to take place. And so in 10 years from now, when there's no more places to build, here's what you see happening. Here's what's happening in the communities surrounding these two counties. Those communities that smart, they see writing on the wall. They're already developing infrastructure to say, hey, you reach capacity over there. We got plenty of opportunity for you to come our way. And so those communities that smart are already starting to position themselves infrastructurally to be able to reap the benefits of that. Whereas those that's lagging, they're not. And it's always until it's too late. And that's why I'm always saying we're playing checkers while they playing chess.
Making moves.
Bingo. And so what I see, you know, that the county is ripe for opportunities. And so what we have to do is stop waiting on other entities to do it, and let's start putting our collective minds together and say, okay, they may be missing out, but if I know me and you have desire to own an apartment community, Dr. McCoy sitting on land, she got land. I know a banker, you know a builder, but and I don't want to let them know because then that's that's only that's a third. I got to share the pie. You know what? I'd rather get a third of the pie than have no pie at all. Y'all know I love me some sweet potato pie. I want a
Absolutely.
third of it.
It's the vision, right?
Bingo.
It's the
That's
vision
it.
that you see. It's a
Parson parcel.
small vision. We got to think bigger than that because it can lead to other things. So another comment: supporting our people's business requires mutual respect from both a consumer and the owner. As an owner, I must be willing to reinvest for the sake of my customers. It's the investment.
But here's what I have to do before I can make that investment. Uh, you know, if I'm going to okay, here, y'all know I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie. Again, I have to use what I know and what I love. I'm a foodie. I desire to open a restaurant. Um, And I got two options: go the brick and mortar way and spend hundreds of thousands, or invest in me a food truck and build up my clientele that way. And so 6 months in, I'm doing well with the food truck, and everybody's telling me, you ought to, you got to get a storefront. We love to be able to come and sit down and eat. That's fine and dandy. But again, if my it's all about the profit margin. If my margins is saying right now I'm sustainable, I'm doing well sustaining. Here's what happens, and I can talk to this because I fell into this trap as a pastor. I'll never forget first church we planted in Memphis. We got our first couple of members, Bridget, and we were meeting in a community center, and they started talking about we need to get our own place, rent our own place, and I was like, okay, jumped out there, rented a building, had them renovated it to our specifications, you know, uh, $2,000 a month rent, and at that time when I jumped out there and did that, giving was sustainable. But what happens? Remember what I said early on in this segment? We will get what we want.
Yep.
And so when the holidays started coming around, summer came around, and vacation season. I mean, folk could go on vacation, and we don't do that. Same thing as a business owner. I we have to be careful in investing in pleasing, making it more pleasing to your eye to start off with, until we begin. Now, I'm not saying we have to. I believe in quality service, but at the same time, it's more business sense for me. I rather give you. Which do you want more? Do you want good service, good service that's consistent, or great service that's sporadic?
No, I want the consistency.
You want good that's consistent, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But here's what happens: if I go out and I open up a nail shop, I I say I can relate to this too because my wife made me fall in love with getting pedicures. And I go out and I invest in these state of the art massage chairs, and I put the lighting in there, the ambience, and then I set up a champagne and cheese bar for you, and you come in there and you drink the finest champagne, and you eat all of these rare and exotic cheeses. You have all your different cheeses that you're having. I got charcuterie boards for you to have, and nice fine cuts of salami, and I'm giving you this fine sushi and caviar. But you still gonna expect to come in there and get your $40 pedicure. But I'm giving you the finest of service. And so in order for me to continue to accommodate you, I got to charge you $100.
That's it.
You're gonna leave me and go down the street to Miss Mimi and get that $40 that you used to pay him.
You're
So we
right.
want A1 service, but we want it at the same price. So again, we have to. There's that fine line that we have to decide. What's more important to me?
right.
So
Absolutely.
makes sense.
It does. It does. It does. Well, we are right a little bit over our time, but it has been
It's
an
my fault, y'all.
awesome conversation, Pastor. No, it was good stuff. What's your saying about good meat makes its
Makes
own
his own
grade?
gravy. Good meat makes his
So
own
that's where
gravy.
we were. So I would like to thank you for giving us the honors this evening to join us for financial freedom, and thank all of our uh, folks for tuning in. This was really, really good and enriching conversation. And can we count on you to come back?
If y'all will have me.
We will have you. We will have you. I think I speak for everybody. We will have you. Well, thanks everybody, and everybody have a great evening.
Y'all take care.
You as well.